Hello and welcome to season 12 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. My name is Louise Matson, and as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. This season has really been affected by the incredible energies of our time. We've had technical issues and a speaker having to reschedule due to severe physical symptoms, which I myself had experienced last week. And speaking of Nora's rescheduled conversation, unfortunately, she's just informed me that she will be unable to speak on Friday. And so we're looking at a date next week. And I will update the upcoming calls page accordingly and send an email out to you all. So on Friday, please feel free to enjoy the replays from the season so far. And I will be going live on Saturday with my conversation. But for now, let's cut back to Peter's conversation. As some of us are all feeling the effects of the energies of this time, I am really delighted to welcome back the much-loved returning featured speaker, the amazing Peter Tong, who always shares so much information about the energies we're currently dealing with, and today is going to be no exception. And also the energies of which we are yet to experience. Having a heads up on what we might expect is always a great help in riding the intensity of the waves. And for those of you who may not have met Peter yet, he is a master teacher and thought leader who weaves astrology with the gene keys together to unlock the energetic bigger picture for us all on our collective and individual levels. And I personally consider Peter to be a master wisdom keeper and ambassador for the gene keys modality, with an absolutely incredible gift of being able to ground and share some really high esoteric wisdom of the gene keys into the physical in a very easy to understand way, and really weave it and bind it together with what we're all experiencing on a very physical level day to day. And it's all done to assist us on our journeys of spiritual evolution. The topic for today's conversation is Eclipse Afterglow. And as many of you know, we've just moved through a very powerful eclipse season, and Peter will be looking at this using a gene key profile to really hone in on the specific vibrations we have and will continue to experience as we traverse through these energies. And we also had recently passed through the fall equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm excited to hear what Peter has to share about the significance of that as well. And as usual, Peter will be taking live questions around the gene keys or anything that we discuss on the show. So feel free to write your questions in the chat or the Q&A box on Zoom, and hopefully you'll already have a copy of your gene key profile in front of you. But if not, you can get a free one at https://gene keys, that's GENEKEYS.com/free-profile. So without further ado, let's get started. And I wish you a very warm welcome back, Peter. It's always a true blessing to have you join us on the show.
Thanks, Lou. And I see quite a few of my friends are already on the call joining us. So that's great news. The Soul Tribe are gathering. This is a very important part of this process because we need this mutual support to navigate our way through what is taking place on the planet, which is all good news, by the way. I really want everybody to focus on the knowing that this is leading to a wonderful outcome. It's very messy and chaotic at the moment, but we are in the last throes of those other energies which are going to dissolve away and disappear. So I want everyone who's listening to drop into their hearts and know that we are on the right track and it can't be stopped. And we know that specifically, and I'll explain why as we go through the process. I'm going to be giving us a lot of information, which is, as you correctly said, interweaved, and it's a tapestry that's coming together into this beautiful mandala. And so I don't want anyone to feel they've got to understand everything that I'm saying, because there's going to be a lot of information and you'll have the replay available. So I'm much rather people listen from their hearts and just feel into how they feel as I go through this magnificent process. And one of the things I want to really emphasize at the beginning is the planetary system, the whole solar system, is choreographing this journey. The planetary systems are in charge of this with Mother Earth herself. And that's why these eclipses are so important, because they bring in these very powerful opportunities for change to take place. And that's what has been taking place going back to the total solar eclipse on April the 8th.
Mm.
And I'm going to explain that a little bit as well as we go through. But we are going to be talking about the gene keys. So what I want to do is to begin, for those people that don't know, Richard Rudd is the genius behind them, and the original experience that he had, which has now become profoundly important. And I won't go into all the details, but suffice it to say that he woke up one morning, he was staying at a little cottage on the Sussex Downs, which you probably know, Lou, is a beautiful area on a ley line.
Yeah.
And he woke up in this already awakened ecstatic state. So he says he woke up and he woke up. He didn't plan for it, he didn't prepare it, but he was in this ecstatic state. And I wish it had been filmed because he spent 3 days in this state, traveling around England and Wales. And he was called to go to this island called Bardsey Island, which is off the northwest coast of Wales. It's called the Island of 20,000 Saints. And there is a mythology that Merlin is buried there. And so it's a very remote island. There's nothing there, and there still isn't. So he had to pay a fisherman to take him across. So now he's sitting on top of a mound on that island, and he has an experience with Merlin. And he's in this ecstatic state. So whatever he thought, he was given the answer immediately. It was because he'd connected to what's called the causal plane, which is the first subtle body beyond our physical incarnation.
Mm.
So he had pure truth flowing through him. And one of the challenges that some people are already facing is having that experience of stepping into that higher state of awareness, this bliss state, this ecstatic state.
Mm.
And then what happens when you come back to ground?
Mm.
And it can be really challenging, because what's the point of this life when I've had that experience? So a lot of people who've now had that experience in the last few months are now saying, what do I quit my day job? Do I leave my marriage? What do I do, in terms of having had that experience? And Richard really struggled when he first came back because he had the Messiah complex. He thought he was God, Jesus, because he just knew everything.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he grounded himself back into reality, and he calls himself a householder. So he got married, had his first child, and then this energy started coming back in, again, spontaneously. So he went to his wife and he said, I'm going to go into my study, just leave me alone, I'll stay there as long as it takes. And he was in there for, again, 3 days, 3 nights, didn't eat, didn't sleep. And that was when the gene key transmission came through him. And it took him 7 years to put that 3-day experience into a form that we could work with, which is the gene keys. Mm. So this is how all of this evolved for him. But now I'm going back to that first experience, because now he's talking about the future human. And he's just done a 2-day retreat in Boulder, Colorado. And for the first time I'd heard him say this anyway, was that when he was on that mound on Bardsey Island, he was given a glimpse into the future human. This is what we are now going to experience. And it's already started. And you know people, and I know people who've gone through this experience. So basically what he's saying is we are going to step into this energy through whatever modality you want to work with. But the gene keys, from my perspective, is the safest and most straightforward way to do that, because it's got a very solid, grounded core. And I've already seen we've got questions around this energetically. How do you ground back in when you've had that level of experience? And how do you cope with all of these inner feelings that are taking place? So we are being transformed from Homo sapiens to Homo luminous, or whatever word you want to call it. We are becoming light, and we are becoming lighter, and our DNA is being activated and switched on to a whole new level of existence. So we've got to, first of all, recognize this is happening. It's a really good thing, but then we've got to stay fully present in this world. And the challenge that we all chose to take on as transition team members was to do this as the pioneers of how to create this new earth by going through this process first. Because eventually the 3D won't exist anymore. People who follow us won't have to do this, because we'll be in the 5D all the time, and all the stuff we're dealing with on the planet won't exist. What it actually looks like, I don't know. But when Richard walked down from that mound, he said, I'm fine. We're all fine. It's going to be fine. And it is. Now, what I realized this morning, I was doing my washing up this morning, Lou, and I suddenly realized this was happened in 1996.
Yeah.
So this is the Saturn return of Richard's experience. So normally Saturn return is 28 years. And it's usually when people are 27 to 29 years of age is when they go through their Saturn return, which is like making the connection to the first 28 years and saying, okay, now what am I here to do in the next 28 years? What's my next level of commitment? So normally we look at our age 27 to 29, but that Saturn return always happens all the time after 28 years. So this is Richard's Saturn return of that experience. And now for the first time, he's talking about that experience being the future human. I don't know if he knows that. He probably doesn't, and that's fine. But he's bringing it out.
Yeah.
And right now we are on the first quarter moon after the solar eclipse last week, which is all about making that next level of commitment to take action on whatever you set as an intention last week. Now, if you didn't set an intention last Wednesday, it's okay, because this is going to go on till the end of the year, into the new year. So what we are doing is going through this awakening process to activate our DNA inside and just go with the flow of what shows up. And the synchronicities are unbelievable. They're ridiculous. And it's even coming down to simple language. So let me give you one simple language. Hurricane Milton.
Yes.
What did Milton write? Paradise Lost. Florida, right?
Yeah.
It's just remarkable. I mean, I really hope it isn't as bad as people think it's going to be. And if it's okay with you later, Lou, we'll do a little process to help with that.
Yeah.
In the new way that I'm doing this work.
Yeah.
As a result of this experience.
Absolutely. It's
So,
funny saying it's the 28-year return of Saturn, because I just realized that I had my accident and was paralyzed in 96.
well, there you are. So there's your Saturn return of that now.
Yeah.
So it's about letting go and completing and moving on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So interestingly, again, synchronistically, and I was blown away by this, Richard is actually going to do a 2-day retreat in downtown London on November 23, 24, where he's talking about the future human. Because he's already experienced it. He knows it. It's not intellectual. He knows it. He's been it. He is it. And at the same time, Oracle Girl, who I also follow, who I think is brilliant, is also doing a retreat in London on the 2nd and 3rd of November. Get this, in the same location.
Wow.
A friend's house in downtown London. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't think they know each other. But Richard's going to get a great whack over his heart by the energy in that space.
Absolutely.
But the point is, they're doing it in London because what she works with is purification. And she's calling it Reawaken London.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the future human. Because part of our work recently has been William Blake. And William Blake was the poet back in the late 1700s, early 1800s. He was a prophet for this time. And he's in his Pluto return. So this is the 250-year shift. And what he was saying then was a warning about industrialization, the Industrial Revolution in England, all the poverty and challenges in downtown London. But he had these portals that he went to where he stepped through into grace with God and with the angels. And one of those key places was Primrose Hill, which is a beautiful high spot overlooking the whole of downtown London. And interestingly, Richard Rudd did a talk recently in St. James's Church in downtown London, which is very close to where Richard's wine merchant store is of his family lineage. So he spent a lot of time in St. James's Church as a little boy, but William Blake was christened in that church. So all this interconnectedness is happening. So we really want to pay attention to it all and really tune in with it. Who is this Oracle Girl? Oracle Girl, I believe, is one of the most powerful people on the planet right now. She believes that she's come back from the future to help us navigate through this time. And she's very straight up. She tells it as it is. And every year she does 2 immersions, one in April and one in October. And so she's in it right now. And she's actually in Bhutan in the Himalayas, where people go to collect their termas. And a terma is something that you left behind in a previous lifetime to find in a future incarnation when you reach the same level of consciousness.
Mm.
So Richard believes that the gene key transmission is a terma that was put away because we fell from grace and then was able to re-emerge when we were ready, which is obviously now.
She just knows herself as Oracle Girl. If you just Google Oracle Girl.
Yeah, oh, well, I can tell you it's www.oraclegirl.org. Her name's Jacqueline.
Yeah.
And I think she's outstanding. So these are all the people of the highest frequency on the planet who are doing this work. There are many of them, but they are the two that I tend to follow most closely because obviously I have a personal relationship with Richard and I totally trust Oracle Girl's work. So all of this stuff is happening behind the scenes for us to work with and to know that it's happening because there are these beautiful spiritual beings who've come to support us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so let's pull up that profile, Lou.
Okay.
And I don't know if everybody knows about the gene keys, so let me give you a very quick run round. So this is the profile that you would get based upon your birth moment, the location and the time. And originally I was planning to use a profile of one of the eclipses. But when I started researching today and I realized this was the profile for now, I got really excited, and I'll tell you why shortly. So the great news with the gene keys is you can go to that website that Lou mentioned and you can find the profile for any date, time and location you want. So you can get it for your birth moment, which is your own personal profile, but you can get it for family members, you can get it for businesses when you first started a business. You can do it for any well-known personality if you know their information. So it shows you these 11 spheres. Now, it's really important to understand this is not a flat two-dimensional diagram with numbers and colors. It is your own internal genetic makeup. So what we are doing is drawing out of you the key elements of your genetic makeup. So this gene key profile contains 3 sequences: the life's work, evolution, and the radiance and purpose at the bottom. Those 4 make up the activation sequence. The life's work and evolution are you in the outer world, how you show yourself to the world. The radiance and purpose is the inner world, the inner you, the unconscious you, which you need to go deeper to access. Then the pink ones are the Venus sequence. And this is how you navigate through your childhood and into your primary relationships. And so this gives you a guidepost of how your life has developed through your childhood and then how that impacts you in your primary relationships. And I'm going to talk more about that later. And then the blue spheres at the top are called the Pearl sequence. And this is now how you bring all of this information that you've learned about yourself out into the way in which you operate out in the world in the future. So this is the way in which you offer yourself in service for the greater good for the rest of your life once you've gone through that inner machinations to unravel the truth. And what's really important to understand is the truth is already inside you. We're just releasing the blockages that prevent us from experiencing that. So we don't need to go anywhere outside of us. It's all inside us. And then the outer world will reflect the work we do on the inner world. So when we say, what do I need to do in the world to make the world a happier place? Make yourself happy first. Clear out all the shadow frequencies that are within you. So this is why I got excited about today specifically, Lou, because today the date is October the 9th. And the total solar eclipse on April the 8th was really significant. And that was exactly 6 months from today. So the way the gene key profile works is the life's work and the evolution are called programming partners. And each gene key gets illuminated for just over 5 days each year. So the sun moves around the whole disk, illuminating each gene key. And the way it's designed is that the life's work and the evolution are 6 months apart. So because we're exactly 6 months apart, the 51 was at the top, the life's work, and the 57 was at the evolution. So they've switched around positions.
Oh, wow.
And that's why it's so important, because we are reactivating that
Mm.
total solar eclipse.
Mm.
Now, why was that really important? In gene keys, we study the gene keys every year. Once going round the wheel, every gene key gets illuminated for just over 5 days.
Mhm.
But in human design, which is closely related to gene keys, they also study global cycles. And the last global cycle lasted for 412 years, started in 1615 and closes in 2027. So that period of time, 400 years, comes to completion. Now,
Mm.
what was behind that? What was behind it were 8 gene keys. And those 8 gene keys were basically inviting us as humanity to follow the system, allow the system to be in charge, on the understanding that the system would keep us safe and secure.
Mm.
That was the deal that we made 400 years ago. It may have been necessary then.
Yeah.
When you come to the end of a cycle, you start seeing the flaws and the corruption in it, which is what we've been doing for the last 50, 70 years,
Mm.
since we actually allowed televisions into our home, so the mind control began.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that period is now coming to an end, and the global cycle actually completes in 2027.
Mm.
And Richard Rudd talks about the date in 2027 when the 55th gene key is being illuminated by the sun, because it is the gene key of the age of Aquarius, and that is in February 2027.
Mm.
That's when this new energy is fully embodied.
Mm.
So when this global cycle shifts, there are 8 new gene keys that come into play to control the next 400 years.
Wow.
And the first cross involved includes the 59.
Oh, Peter, you're frozen. Let's see if he comes back.
There's no point.
Oh, you froze then, Peter.
Oh, okay.
So you were just saying that a new set of 8 are going to be coming in, and then you froze.
Just say that again.
You were just saying that a new set of 8 gene keys
Right.
are going to
Okay.
be
Yeah.
coming in, and then you froze.
Okay. Thank you. So that 8 includes 2 4s, and in human design, they're called the cross of those 4 gene keys.
Right.
And the main cross is called the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And it includes the 55, the 59, the 34, and the 20.
Right.
And my interpretation of the sleeping phoenix is that when we go to sleep, the phoenix goes to sleep.
Mm.
And then it pops its head up and says, are these people ready yet? If the answer is yes, the phoenix destroys the old world and the phoenix rises from the ashes.
Mm.
So that's what's beginning already. Okay.
Right.
So then the other 4, amazingly today, are the 4 in our activation sequence, the 57, 51, 53, and 54.
Oh, wow.
And so on that total solar eclipse on April the 8th, the 51 was the gene key being illuminated, but not only by the sun, it was an eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the sun, the moon, the earth, Chiron, the wounded healer, and the north node. The north node is our future destiny. All 5 of them, a stellium, were in the 51st gene key. And the 51st gene key is an initiating gene key. In other words, the new Earth energy began getting imprinted on that April the 8th date. And now it's being reactivated today by this process, by this set of gene keys.
Wow.
Now, this cross, the cross that you're seeing now, the 57, 51, 53, 54, is called the cross of penetration.
Right.
And it's called the cross of penetration because the 51st gene key, the shadow word is agitation. And this is all about traumatic shocks that we have in our life. And as a result of that, we tend to armor ourselves off so we don't have to suffer something similar again in the future. We put on some plate armor. And then the 57th gene key is the gene key of the moment of conception to the moment of birth.
Mm-hmm.
It is the way in which we form a physical body from that miracle of the sperm and the egg coming together to create us. And you know, there is a flash of light when that happens in the conception moment. I actually know someone who saw it. She was getting pregnant in vitro in a petri dish
Ah,
with the sperm and the egg. And when the doctor was putting them together, she saw the flash of light.
wow.
So this is our Big Bang. It's our own internal Big Bang moment when we start forming this coalescence of our spiritual self into form. It's an amazing miracle. It really is. But
Mm.
then, as we're developing through the fetus in our mother's womb, we're so sensitized that we're picking up all of her fear frequency vibrations.
Yeah.
Whatever she's going through, we're picking that up.
Mm.
So this leads to us becoming highly sensitized to the collective anxiety and worry on the planet. The
Mm.
shadow is unease.
Right.
So what we need to do is to decide, when I'm feeling this unease, is it mine
Mm.
or is it the collective? We've got to get really clear on that boundary.
Yeah.
So now then, if you think about this cross of penetration, what we're being asked to do is to dissolve the armor of protection,
Mm.
which requires us to become vulnerable
Yes.
and allow ourselves to be penetrated by spirit.
Mm.
And when we do, notice the 51st Siddhi word is awakening.
Yeah.
So we start awakening when we allow ourselves to be penetrated. It's one of these great paradoxes that Richard's always talking about. We
Mm.
have to allow ourselves to dissolve our old self
Yeah.
and allow ourselves to be penetrated.
Mm.
And when we do, the 57 is about our inner knowing, our intuition.
Mm.
So when we can step beyond the fear of not knowing what's coming next, then we can have this intuitive knowing of what is coming next
Mm.
and this clarity of intuition. So this is why this is such an important day today, to let us know with this 57 at the top is that moment of conception. So if you like, we can now begin our own new conception today. You can say, right, I'm going to let go of all the old identity. I'm
Mm.
going to let go of all those barriers and obstacles and challenges
Mm.
and step into my true identity, which is to be this beautiful, soft, loving self, but with a core stability at the heart of it.
Mm.
So because it's the 57, I'm now just going to run through the Venus sequence. So if you can come down to the vocation sphere there, Lou.
Vacation.
So the vocation sphere, which is 23.5,
Yeah.
this is the core wound. This is where we inherit the ancestral wounding of our family lineage. And you'll see it's on the fifth line. And the fifth line, we've got loads of fifth lines today. And the
Mm.
fifth line shadow is guilt.
Wow.
So this is where guilt is using as a controlling mechanism in the family.
Yeah.
And you may have been made to feel guilty, or your parents or grandparents felt guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And the great news is the antidote to it is forgiveness.
Mm.
So now it's about forgiving it all. It's about total acceptance of everything that's happened in our lives,
Yeah.
because we are on this wonderful path to
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment. If only we can let go of
Yeah.
all that old stuff.
Yeah.
It can't come with us. We can't take this baggage into the 5D. So it's time to drop it off, let it go. And the 23rd gene key is the gene key of overcomplicating things. It's really important to keep it simple. Now, interestingly, when Richard talks about the Pearl sequence, the sequence at the top, he talks about the 23rd gene key as overseeing it, and we have it in exactly the right place,
Mm.
because the core wound becomes the vocation. Once you've cleared the wound, it's now what I'm here to do in this world of work.
Yeah.
And the gift is simplicity.
Mm.
And Richard talks about three things: focusing on the essential. We do have to have our practical day-to-day needs met. We're still living in this world. Then what do you find beautiful and what do you find inspiring?
Mm.
And let everything else go.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's what leads you into this clarity, this inner knowing of simplicity. And the word quintessence is one of my favorite words, because this is an alchemical journey. through the 23rd gene key. This is where we alchemically transmute all this energy, and it's in the belly. It's our internal alchemical furnace where we transmute out all this old stuff. So what we're doing is actually finding our true inner divine nature through transmuting all of our life's experience to this point. It's a beautiful gene key to have, so long as we keep things simple from now on.
Absolutely.
So that's the moment of conception. And then you come into the SQ right in the center, the 56.3. And that gene key is about the first 7 years of life, when we come into physical incarnation out in the world. And whatever happens in our family in that period of time will have a big impact on our future physical health and well-being. Now we've got the 56.3 here. The line 3 is about having the opportunity to have playful fun. And again, the way our educational system has worked, which is another flawed system, children stop playing when they go to school. They sit in rows and desks and sit still, and boys can't stand it. And neither can some girls. So it's about being able to be free to play, and we need our kids to play and have fun. And the 56 is the shadow of distraction. So part of this energy is now saying, don't allow yourself to be distracted. Get really focused on what really matters, what is essential. And it's, notice the word, the city is intoxication. You become intoxicated by spirit rather than alcohol. And you laugh a lot. This is a really positive, infectious laughing gene key. And some of the great Hindu masters, when you asked them a question, they just laughed. That's all they did. That's the 56 gene key. So then you come into the EQ, which is the period of time 8 to 14, your emotional body development. We're back on the 5th line here with the 53. And now this is when you were growing up as an 8 to 14-year-old and you were becoming more independent, spending more time with your friends, getting into your peer group, going through puberty. And the big question is, can I cope with what's coming next? And I don't know what it is. So this is the uncertainty about the future. And the 53rd is that fear of not knowing. Again, it's in perfect position because it's our emotional body fearful of not knowing what's coming next. But again, look at the actual gift and the city: abundance, superabundance, expansion. Now today, Jupiter is going retrograde, and this is very much a Jupiter gene key. So Jupiter's now going backwards till the new year to check out where you do or do not have your freedom, your expansion in your world. But it's an inner journey, not an outer journey. So now we need to go in and reflect upon what's left in my life that's preventing me from moving forward. Then the IQ is the age 15 to 21. And this is your adolescence. The second line is, you'll see it says a brilliant mind. The second line is the sacral center. It's the energy generating center in the body. So the challenge with this is, if you are in any way in discomfort, there's a tendency to project that out onto someone else using your brilliant mind. So this is usually through words that you might put other people down, for example. So we've really got to guard against that and take full responsibility for our own discomfort. And the 43rd gene key is another gem. It's the city of epiphany. This is what Richard had when he had that download of the gene keys. This is the epiphany that opens us up to the causal plane. So it's a download of energy coming down and in through the crown chakra into our hearts, and this explosive energy of just knowing the truth. It's electric blue. It's like the kingfisher flashing past, or the bright blue dragonfly in front of you. Boom, and it's gone. The reason we don't do it is the shadow of deafness. It's the fear of being rejected if I went full on in my true knowing. So this is where we've got to let go of that, and particularly in this new situation where we've got to be true to ourselves. We've got to put that first. And then you become deaf to the collective noise that's going on, and then you can really step into your true knowing. Then the attraction sphere is the sphere of our primary relationships. And this particular 64.3, the line 3, We want playful fun in our relationships, but it tends to lead us into drama. Line 3 is about lots of drama. You're in the middle of your own soap opera. And the reason is that you're wanting to get a profound understanding of the human condition.
Mm.
So you want to be the neutral witness of what's going on around you and not get emotionally entangled in it.
Mm.
And the 64 is the shadow of confusion, which is, should I toe the party line or should I be the rebel?
Mm.
And what we want to be now is the creative rebel, the clever rebel, where we're not sticking our head out above the trenches. That's not helpful.
Mm.
We do our inner work and our own imaginative creativity.
Yeah.
So that's a very quick run through the Venus sequence. And then the Pearl sequence leads us out. I just wanted to make a brief comment about the 45 and the 16, because those two together are also to do with Jupiter.
Right.
The 16 is about creating appropriate structures.
Mm.
And the 45 is the demise of the old patriarchal systems. The shadow word is dominance. So we have lived in a dominant world throughout our lives. And now the shift is to come together in collaborative, supportive, cooperative ventures where the outcome is bigger and better than the individual people involved. And that's the synergy, which leads to communion. So the final contentment of this today's profile is communion. Isn't that wonderful?
It is.
That's where we're heading, coming together as a soul tribe. Now, just very quickly, the 53 I've already talked about, and the 54 is at the very bottom, is the shadow of greed. This is the material focus over the spiritual focus. So many of us have lived our lives where we've had to focus on material safety and security for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Most of us lived post Second World War when things were scarce.
Yeah.
So we've hung on to that material security. So now we've got to let that go and focus on our spiritual aspirations. We don't let the material go completely, but Richard says that whenever you are focused fully on your spiritual truth, you will always be looked after.
Yes. Yes.
Then the final comment on all these line 5s, Richard did a retreat presentation earlier this year where he talked about the culture specifically. And he talked about the lines of the culture in creating a new mystic culture. And that 5th line, he said, listen carefully, folks, these are the new leaders who are going to lead us into freedom in this new mystic culture. What that means is we need to find our own freedom in our own hearts. And the 55th gene key, which is the age of Aquarius gene key, is victimhood. So we've got to step out of playing the role of the victim. We know when we are whenever we're blaming, complaining, comparing.
Yeah.
We let go of that, we pause, we breathe, and we pivot out and take full responsibility for whatever's happening. And that's what leads us to our personal freedom. When you exemplify that personal freedom, it leads to the freedom for the collective. So that's a very quick journey around the gene key profile. So now I'm going to take us into the eclipses, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing this, shall I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going back to September the 17th, where there was a lunar eclipse, and it formed a kite formation. So if you imagine the old-fashioned kite with the triangle at the top and a long triangle down, that's what that energetically was in the sky. At the bottom of it, the sun was in Virgo. So the sun was anchored in the earth energy, and it formed a 120-degree angle with Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus, all 3 in the earth signs. So this was our grounding. But then the Taurus and Capricorn energy were also linked to the top of the kite in a 60-degree angle. So that's called a sextile. So right at the peak of that kite were the moon and Neptune in Pisces.
Right.
So the moon and Neptune in Pisces is all about our freedom to fly into our spiritual truth. So if you imagine now a kite flying and it's trying to get away and you're holding the string and keeping it down to earth, that's what that energy was. So part of us wanted to fly and go out into the universe of all that is.
Yeah.
But Sun in Virgo is saying, no, no, I'm staying on the ground.
Mm.
We're staying in the garden. Now, I see that as a very positive thing because we were being grounded while we were also flying.
Yeah.
And that's what that energy was about back on the 17th. So people may be wanting to look back over these times to get a sense of this.
Mm.
Now, because it was a lunar eclipse, it was about letting go of the past.
Mm.
So it was looking at everything that we were doing in our lives that was not of our future human.
Mm.
And it was a light body activation because of that Neptune and the moon in Pisces.
Right.
So this was another step. All these are like steps up, each one backing on the next. Now, it's interesting that we're going to talk about the equinox next, because on that eclipse, the gene keys were the sun was in the 6 and the moon was in the 36. And those two together are called the battle of the sexes. It's the conflict that we have in our relationship field with ourselves internally
Mm-hmm.
and with people in our lives. The 36 is the person with nervous anxiety,
Mm.
worry, even panic. And then the 6 responds defensively against that anxiety.
Yeah.
So that person becomes even more anxious.
Yeah.
So you go down the rabbit hole of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went into the equinox. So the equinox is saying we're now on that balance point. It's
Mm.
when the sun comes down to the equator. Everything's in balance and harmony.
Yeah.
So this was this ideal time to be looking at our balance in our relationships, seeing how it all marries out. And it's not necessarily down the middle, because what I think we're needing to do now is be more on the feminine side than the masculine,
Mm.
to allow that intuition to lead the way
Yeah.
and the masculine to carry it out on her behalf.
Mm.
So that equinox energy then was saying, let's find this balance. It's still happening now because we're still in Libra.
Yeah.
So we're still looking into finding my harmonious balance within and without.
Mm.
So it was squeezed between these two eclipses to really get us focused on that. And it's not too late now. That's the beauty of this. It's all still up in the field now,
Mm.
called
Yeah.
the sin field, where everything is whirling around in the same moment.
Mm.
So then let's take us forward to the eclipse last Wednesday, which was the annular solar eclipse.
Mm.
And another remarkable thing happened. And I just couldn't believe this happened, but it did. So we know it's really important. So one of our members of our soul tribe got this message. She'd got to go to Easter Island.
Mm.
And she knew then that she had to go there for the eclipse, because Easter Island was the only place on land where you could see the annular solar eclipse in totality,
Oh, wow.
with the ring of fire around it. Now, Easter Island is in the South Pacific in the middle of nowhere,
Mm.
2,000 miles to the nearest landmass, major landmass, in every direction. It's in the middle of the sea.
Mm.
So this woman goes there to Easter Island to be there because she got guidance to do so, right? So then Zia, who I work really closely with, had a memory that Drumbelow Melchizedek had done a YouTube going to Easter Island to do a sacred ceremony.
Mm.
And she found that YouTube. And the YouTube was amazing because it was in 2008 and he had a group of 50 people and they did ceremony on that island for a very specific clearing of an old ancient lineage wounding.
Mm.
And then following that, they had to go to Tahiti to activate the new global consciousness grid. So they had to clear the old energy from the Polynesian culture before we could anchor this energy in. And he said that the North Pole of that energy is the Great Pyramid of Giza, and the South Pole is this island called Moorea, which is one of the Tahitian islands. So then they went there and did ceremony. And they met with the dead original king in the ground, the burial ground on Easter Island.
Mm.
And then they met with the living king in Tahiti.
Right.
So they went from the ancient old cleared to the brand new.
Wow.
Now, you probably know that Easter Island is that island with all the heads.
Yeah.
And now they've determined those heads have bodies.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is about the revealing of the truth.
Mm.
So now then, last Wednesday, I went online and I watched the live annular solar eclipse on Easter Island. And it was really neat because that was the one place you could see it, and you actually saw the moon coming in and the sun become a crescent moon. And then it did actually show you the whole outer edge.
Wow.
The actual ring of fire was really right. You could see it really clearly.
Yeah.
And then it moves, the moon moves off and the crescent moon of the sun comes back. And that's what took place on Easter Island. But in that live image, they also showed the people on Easter Island. So I felt as if I was actually there with this woman.
Wow.
I haven't spoken to her yet. I'm going to see what experience that she had.
Mm.
But now this is what's really, really important. What they did in that 2008 experience was to create the complete global consciousness grid.
Mm.
And what Drumbelow said, it's going to take time for it to fully engage. It's already formed,
Yeah.
but it's going to take time for it to form fully. Now, what's significant about 2008? Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008. When does it leave Capricorn? November the 19th this year.
Yeah.
This is the completion of that whole energy.
Wow.
So now what we know is the global consciousness grid is fully activated and fully online. Now, what does that mean? This is what Drumbelow said. When we try to do spiritual healing work for the collective, and we do our internal work, whatever we do, we can have an impact locally with our family, with our friends, with our own town, whatever. But when you want to go globally, it doesn't get there because that grid wasn't fully in place. But now that it is, he's saying that we can impact from our hearts, it's got to be in the heart, can't be in the mind, the whole global energy just by being present in the heart, because the global consciousness grid is intelligent. It knows what needs to be done. So you can choose to focus on one specific thing that you want to work with, or you can just offer it up to the divine intelligence to do it, which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I've decided now to step out of trying to intention something, but to set the intent, because when you have a focus, it's too narrow. You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm now just saying, okay, let's look at the whole picture and let's have it connect into that energy. So I've rambled on a lot, but I think I brought us up to date pretty well, except finally to say that this Pluto is turning direct on Friday this week. And that's why it's great we're doing this. So it's still at 29 degrees Capricorn. It's now done its return journey to eke out what it missed. So now it's going to come forward, still in Capricorn at 29 degrees. It's now going to reveal all the stuff that we need to know for our future destiny. And then it moves forward on November the 19th into Aquarius. So it's moving forward on Friday, but it's still got a clear Capricorn till November the 19th. It won't be back in Capricorn for 250 years, and we're going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. This is the greatest opportunity we have to transform ourselves and to transform the planet into the age of Aquarius, which is what we've all been looking forward to. And now it is here, I think, starting today. And then it's going to build up over the next few weeks. We're going to see lots of chaos because the old guard are still trying to maintain control. They don't realize this is a predestined global event that they have lost. So we are just going to smile and say, sorry, chaps, you've lost. We're going to move into this beautiful new world. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So much. So much. This is definitely a conversation to go back to time and again, to really kind of eke out and get insightful awareness for yourself on what's been shared, because so much has been shared. But overall, really, really positive. I mean, I was getting insights into the various things as you were speaking about the personal situation for me. And like I said, 96 was when I was paralyzed, and that created a massive shift. And then kind of going back and reflecting on that journey from there, and it linked in with the chart that you brought up and the gene keys and what they were talking about in that. So again, as people look into this for yourself, you'll probably get the same kind of aha moment, flash of light for yourself. Oh my goodness, that's
Exactly. That's right, Lou. Yeah.
yeah.
So let's just talk about last week for a bit, because I know people struggled last week because we were moving into the eclipse energy. Everything was being compressed, but there was also an attempted timeline corruption by the other side.
Right.
They did something which is against universal law, which is great for us because it now means they can be defeated from some higher frequencies coming in because they broke the universal law. This was their final desperate bid. But what it did, it took us out of time. So last Tuesday, Wednesday, you may want to think back to where you were, what you were doing, and if you actually had a moment where you lost track of everything, discombobulated, didn't know what you were doing, where am I, who am I, that sort of feeling.
Well, I had dizziness, nausea,
Yeah,
and a
there you
headache.
go.
I don't get headaches.
No,
So yeah, and that's exactly what Nora's had just yesterday.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it definitely affected me.
So we've now been shifted onto a really positive timeline to move forward with this, but we are still going to have these challenges inside because we are shifting inside. Our genetic makeup is changing. So all those people who've had these extraordinary pains and feelings and emotions where no doctor can solve it for you because it's got nothing to do with our medical system. It's to do with the changes that's taking place inside us. Now, obviously, if you've got some form of serious complaint, you may still want to go to the medical system, but you also know that by stepping into this global consciousness grid, we can heal ourselves.
Mm.
And this is this deep and profound inner knowing of the truth of who we are. We are becoming light body in form. We'll still be in a physical body, but we will be glowing light from the inside out. And
Mm.
then no disease can exist. It's called the radiant brow. So we are going to start like having a beam of light coming out of our forehead into people, and it's
Mm.
going to transform them as well.
Wow.
So I know a lot of relationships are struggling
Mm.
because one person is on the awakening path and the other one isn't. And that's really tough.
Yeah.
I went through that myself, so I know exactly what that's like. And at some point, the vibration is so different that we actually can't stay in those relationships.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can try really hard to make them work. But if it's game over, it's game over. And we want to leave well. We don't want to create a problem. We want to try and come to agreement to make that shift.
Mm.
But we can't allow those vibrations to hold us back any longer.
Mm.
Everybody on the planet is having to make a choice at this point. And we're seeing clearly those choices that people are or are not making.
Yeah.
And Richard actually talked about the forking in the path way back. And he said, this is in the 49th gene key, where some people will move on into this beautiful new path, this new timeline, and others will stay stuck in the past, believing in some sort of safety and security, which is an illusion.
Mm.
And that's got to be a free choice.
Absolutely. And I think it's really essential for everybody to respect everybody else's choice and everybody else's path. And it may not be the path that you would wish for them to have, but it is their choice, their path.
Exactly.
And I mean, the talk that Spirit wants me to have on Saturday is all about, staying in your own lane and allowing other people to stay in theirs. But the
Yep.
key thing for us to work on an individual level is to check in with ourselves what might be blocking us from continuing along the lane that we're meant to be in. Because one of the key things with my accident where Spirit nudged me down the stairs was I was completely off track of my own lane.
Yeah.
And it literally, that whole experience picked me up and popped me back in alignment with the path that I'm supposed to be on and have subsequently followed. And again, these experiences, they can be incredibly challenging, but again, it's kind of dropping into the heart, connecting in with your own guidance and your own system of support and trust, and knowing what is the right path for you, even though it may mean an end of a relationship, it may mean moving to a different place or a different job or something. but allowing yourself to honor your lane and honoring everybody else's.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to mention. I saw someone earlier said had been invited to go to Moorea to swim with the whales or dolphins. That's fantastic because again, we're reconnecting to that new earth energy that's being imprinted. So whenever you get any synchronistic call, it's really important to follow it if you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing the last one here, someone caring for her mother who relies upon the NHS for medication, etc. I cannot walk away. No, you're not going to walk away from her, but you are going to detach from the drama that gets created in that situation. So you're going to hold space for her. You're going to continue to support her with kindness, loving, heart-centered empathy, but not get entangled in her stuff. That's the key. So there are commitments and obligations that we have that we feel that we have, and it's important to be in our own integrity for sure. So thank you for saying that. So
Was asking about, because I know from the perspective of the human design in 2027, it's supposed to shift and change. And
yeah,
she's asking, is that a similar thing going to happen with the Gene Keys profile as we move into 5D?
so as we move into 5D, we're simply moving up into the higher frequencies of your profile. So your profile won't change, but you'll be shifting into the higher frequencies because each gene key has these three levels of frequency, the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. So hopefully most of us in this call are in our gifts with some residual shadows to still clear. And we may have these sudden bliss moments, glimpses. And what we mustn't do is try and work them out. If you get a glimpse of bliss, just be in it. Let it saturate you.
Excellent. It's really funny. I keep seeing somebody in the main chat, and they were on another call yesterday, and then it's got the same name as me, and I keep thinking, oh, it's an alternate me asking the
Oh,
question.
right. Yeah, I get it. I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. So I think people are going to have a lot of aha moments as we went through. Now, remember, this profile wasn't their profile, but when they have their profile, then they can begin having these aha moments. And the beautiful thing about the profile is when you look back through your life at situations that happened, as with you, Lou, that you now know this was supposed to happen. This is something I chose to have in my life to adjust my path, whether it's to deal with a trauma, whether it's to activate you.
Yeah.
So it takes the emotional charge out of experiences that people have had. And some of those experiences are absolutely desperately difficult. And one of the big mysteries is why we chose suffering as our route to evolve. It's the weirdest thing humanity chose to do, but that's who we are. That's what we chose.
Yeah. And I do feel that, again, somebody said a long time ago, because I think the USA had its Pluto return, and it was all around, that kind of Pluto return is kind of, well, all of the returns really. It's that opportunity to look back over that point when it originated, to look back, have you actually accomplished the principles that were laid out? And so that's the beautiful thing for me with all of this. Yes, humanity may have chosen the path of suffering to go along this journey, and we may have had those 8 gene keys to start with, and have we accomplished everything in them? Well, in many ways, no. We can look back and say, no, we haven't been able to, because we agreed upon this structure, and actually this structure hasn't provided what we had agreed that would provide. So, and for our own journey, it is that looking back, it's that reflection into, okay, well, am I on the path that I kind of my soul set out to be on? Does it look like how I expected it to look? And if not, just being without judgment, radically honest about it, and being allowing yourself to make any changes that feel in alignment for you.
That's a great point. So let's just talk about that Pluto return, because it's American Revolution, it's French Revolution, and we're still in that right now. That Pluto return, 250 years. So if you go back to the beginning of America, it was the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And that wording was freedom, equality, and happiness. So as you say, you look back 250 years and you say, are the American people free and happy and equal now? Well, the answer is obviously no.
No.
And they've got their election coming up right in the last few days of Pluto in Capricorn. It's the critical degree.
Mm.
And the French Revolution as well. And you've seen this year in France, there's been a lot of protesting going on against the government. And now you've got this British government. And so it's all connected into this Pluto return
Absolutely.
of dominance, right?
Mm.
Because the American people decided they didn't want to be dominated by Britain anymore. But now
Yeah.
they've created their own domination, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is all that stuff that's going to be cleared up. But you're absolutely right. Going back to before the first corruption in our lives is a beautiful thing to attempt to do.
Mm. Mm. And that's what my accident enabled me to do. It gave me, oh, sorry, my dogs are wanting to get in on. It gave me that opportunity because I physically couldn't do anything. So I had a year, and that was that opportunity where I had the space and the time to completely reflect on everything. I had nothing else that I could do. Physically, I was incapable of doing much else. So,
Yeah, exactly.
it's when we have some of these experiences, although they may seem really traumatic at the time, it's also a real opportunity. And, they're coming through for us because we're ready to go on that journey of deep inner reflection, whatever. So anything that does come up, just dropping into your heart and just allowing yourself to gain a little bit of detachment from the drama of the experience in your own life is one of the key things that will get you through it in a much more graceful way, really.
I'm really glad your dog has shown up because I've been having dog experiences. I don't have a dog, and since COVID, everybody here seems to have a dog.
Right.
And when I go and sit quietly in our beautiful communal area down by the water, the people are walking their dogs and some of them are off leash, and they keep coming up to me like they're magnetized. When I'm sitting there, they'll come and sit next to me.
Yeah.
And so your dog has just done exactly that with you, right? They're feeling this energy, which is so comfortable for them because they're already in it. That, when the dog is living its life, it's doing it in its own way and it's beautiful in the present moment.
Yeah.
So that's what's just happened right now. Your dog is magnetized to this beautiful energy.
Yeah. I mean, they are incredible. Ever since they've been puppies, when I've been doing the energy work and things, they've always been very quiet. If I have a client come to the house, they immediately just lay down and just they're
Yeah.
in place, but they're just, they love it, absolutely love it. Okay, let's get some questions. There's an anonymous attendee who says that they have the cross that was on the gene key profile that you showed,
Yeah.
53.4 in life's work, 54.4 evolution,
Yeah.
57.6 purpose, and radiance, 51.6. And they're wondering what it means for them. Now, that might not be something that you can completely go into in
No,
this.
I can. I know I can
Okay.
because they are an archetype of someone who needs to do this work on their own inside so that then plays out into the collective because they've got this very specific coding within their DNA. So this is about working with those four gene keys, which I described earlier in the actual discussion of each of those keys, to focus on that, which is to be aspiring to their spiritual truth, to get beyond any fears of the unknown of the future, to allow themselves to be penetrated by spirit. That's the key. And then they become an archetype of how we're going to shift in this new age through this set of four gene keys.
Mm.
So it's very specifically their responsibility to do that. And it's not an obligation. It's not something to be fearful of. It's just doing it because it's in your best interest.
Yeah, because they were saying it feels like heavy. It feels like a weight of responsibility.
Right.
And
And it's not that.
yeah,
It's
I
not that.
kind of see it as, you're a walking permission slip.
Yep,
When we
exactly.
work on ourselves, we're literally a walking permission slip that other people kind of connect into, tune into. And we don't know the impact that we have on other people's lives. But if you're holding your frequency in its higher form, then that's what people are feeling and experiencing. And you're literally giving them the permission to go within and do their own inner work. I remember when I used to go clubbing, and I didn't drink alcohol, I didn't take any drugs. And I'd be the first on the dance floor and the last off it. And people would come up to me and say, I want what you've had. And I said, I'm just high on life. I'm just
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
moment, in my joy.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's that effect that we have on people. They feel it.
I think another thing to comment upon to help this person is not to focus too much on the shadows.
Mm.
Richard says, don't spend more than 10% on your shadows. And I just laugh. There's no way people are not only going to spend 10% on their shadows. But what I am agreeing with, we now need to focus much more on the gifts and the cities as we evolve.
Mm.
So again, for this person thinking about their awakening, their intuition, their clarity, and that leads to the ascension, which is what this is all about.
Yeah, yeah.
So see it as a game, see it as a fun adventure that we're going on, because it is.
Joy is asking, do we need to look back in order to move forward? England, France, US, Canada, etc., the most corrupted places on earth.
Right.
Well, I mean, relatively, we say
Yeah.
that, but I've never lived Asia or Africa, and we can't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
see their experiences.
So it's
Maybe
all,
trying to
sorry, go on.
dream and create what we want from a place of presence.
Yes, absolutely. So you want to put your focus on what you truly want for yourself in the future. It's all being looked after. All that other stuff is being looked after. So we keep an eye on it, but we don't drop into it. We just keep an eye on it, but then we do focus on what we truly want without limitation. So the way I encourage us to do it is to feel into how you will feel when it's already been achieved.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful, actually. Another anonymous person says, I've got 59.3 in life's work and 55.3 in evolution. You mentioned something like they go together. What is that
Yes,
in a personal chart?
yes. Okay, so the 59 is the shadow of dishonesty. So this means this person's life's work has been to overcome any dishonesty in their lives, whether it be their own dishonesty with themselves or with others, or people being dishonest with them. And this is the most important energy to transmute as we move into the age of Aquarius, which is the 55. So they play off each other. So when you're in a dishonest relationship or you've got people with hidden agendas, you become the victim, which is the shadow of the 55. When you step out of the dishonesty into transparency, where you now have very clear, crisp interrelationships with others and yourself, is what leads you to your freedom in the age of Aquarius. So again, this is a very important pair to work with because this is actually the most important pair in terms of the new age of Aquarius.
Mm.
So this person needs to make sure that their only interactions in life are transparent and setting themselves free from any victimhood.
Mm. There's another anonymous question about the family genetic wound of denial, line 2.
Yes,
The fact that they recently had repressed ritualistic childhood sexual abuse come to the surface to be the healing
yes,
wound.
yes. So I find denial is the most difficult situation to deal with because people are in denial of the wound.
Mm.
So they keep it locked up and they avoid it at all costs. So clearly in this situation, this has just been revealed. And that's very traumatic. If it's childhood ritual satanic abuse, then that's a very, very deep and profound wound.
Mm.
And typically what that does leads to multiple personality stuff. So this person, if they are the victim of that, needs to get some proper counselling. But there's only certain people who are capable of integrating those multiples. So this is a situation which is I've dealt with it actually, very serious, and it requires very deep and profound compassion for yourself. Again, we've just passed through September 29th, which is Archangel Michael's Day, Michaelmas Day.
Mm.
And I used to be the principal of St. Michael's University School.
Right.
And I used to find these children in the school who were being abused, and one of them was satanically abused as a child. So Archangel Michael whether you believe in him or not, is the archangel of protection through this satanic ritual abuse. So again, for this person, I would call Michael and the legions of light in to support in the healing. But there's no way around it. You've just got to face to the truth of what it was and why it was. Typically in satanic ritual abuse, it's an ongoing lineage of abuse going through the family through many, many generations. So again, the biggest challenge is forgiveness. Can we forgive what took place? Can we let it go? Can we accept it as part of the journey? Because this person came into this life with the deliberate intention of clearing that wound, and now they've reached that level of maturity to do it.
Yeah,
It's a tough one.
it is. Yeah, absolutely. Joy is saying, any insights for life work 51, not giving any points. So she's not giving the line numbers. Evolution 57, purpose 53, radiance 54.
So yeah, so she's got the same activations. It was the same answer I gave just a while ago, but this is about her awakening because she's got the 51 in the life's work. So this is that allowing the penetration to take place, letting spirit in, letting go of all the armor that we've lived through. And this is your awakening moment, your awakening opportunity. And you may want to go back to the first moment of conception and what was going on with your mom when you were in her womb to make sure there's nothing residual there.
Caroline's asking if there's anything you can share around clearing anxiety and heart palpitations. I'm guessing you would need to know more about what's in the chart that may be bringing those to the surface. I mean,
No, I can answer that. So heart palpitations are because the frequency is going up. So Mother Earth herself, the Schumann resonance, is going up and up and up. And now we're being bombarded by these massive solar ejections, more than we've ever had before. So we're being compressed into our diamond body, into our diamond light body. So if there's any resistance in your heart, it does lead to these palpitations because your heart is wanting to open up to this higher frequency, but you've got some resistance to that happening. So letting that roll and letting your heart soften and open, and make sure, again, you've got no fear of being rejected, betrayed, or abandoned, and just softening the edges of the heart and opening the heart up. And the anxiety comes back to that 57th gene key of unease. It's the original core wound of the moment of our conception. So the antidote to that is what Richard said when he came down off that mound. I'm fine. We're all fine. It's going to be fine. So we have to let go of that anxiety and worry and step into this knowing that the future is going to be wonderful. And it requires the deep and profound trust of your own competence and trust in the universal life force that it's on our side.
Somebody is asking about the details of how to book a session with you. And also I wanted to just say that Joy put with her question that she had a personal session with you last year and her life has almost changed 180 degrees since.
Oh, wow, great.
It's really beautiful feedback. So I'll just share now that Peter's very generously offering a special offer package of a one-to-one session with him to go through either the whole of your Gene Key profile or a particular section if you've already had a session with Peter and just want to look specifically at something. There's also an introductory video to help you navigate your golden path, and an hour's long private session, and it's at a reduced price of $111. You can find the details of this obviously underneath in the emails that go out, but also underneath Peter's photo on the upcoming calls page, the replay page, and the free gifts page as well on the website. And all of those details will be on the bottom of the video when I've edited it and put it on YouTube as an edited video, and also on the SoundCloud audio only version. So please feel free to, consider purchasing a session, even if you've had a session before. I mean, I've had a couple of sessions and it is the most incredible thing to when you get your Gene Keys chart, especially if you're new to it, and you just look at it and go, "Oh my goodness," and even if you kind of read some of the details on the Gene Keys website or you purchase the book, sometimes it's just so much to take in. And having a session with Peter is the most incredible thing because he has it all in his head, and he's, as you can see, he's able to just pull it out instantaneously and weave it together with the meanings of this interacting with that. And he says it and he brings it through, as you've just experienced, in such a grounded way that you just get it, you know. And I've read the book a number of times for my particular Gene Key profile before I had a session with Peter, and it just blew my mind. I just couldn't bring it down into the physical. And having a session with Peter, just instantaneously, I was like, oh, I get it. And it just made so much sense. So from my personal experience, I can highly recommend a session with Peter, and a number of other people are saying as well that, you know, it's really useful and beneficial on your journey, just to have an idea of your journey, but also if you're at a particular point and, you know, you're struggling to move forward, just getting that clarity and insight. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, Peter?
Well, yeah, people are having second and third sessions for that very reason, that sort of a few months down the road, things have started to shift, but there's still a few wrinkles. And so people come back, and more and more people are having family sessions. They're bringing their spouse in, or their son or their daughter, and doing things for business. I've even had a session for a 1 week old baby. And it was beautiful because the mother and the grandmother were on the call with this tiny little baby in the mother, on the mother's heart center, and just wanting to create the best possible future for that child. I mean, what a beautiful gift for that child. And I've
Absolutely.
also had sessions with 80-year-olds. So it goes the whole range of humanity. That's the beauty of it. And thank you for your kind words.
Oh no, you know, it's from the heart. Caroline's also saying she and her husband and children have all had sessions and it's brilliant. And Peter is heroically kind and so spot on. Also changed my understanding of my life, emotions, and how to change my life. Truly brilliant.
Oh, wonderful. Thank
And
you.
so many people are saying actually that it's incredible and well worth having a session. That's really beautiful. I mean, that says it all in itself. You know, you can't get a better accolade than somebody who's had a session and values it that much that they're happy to share that experience. I'm
Yes,
just aware of
indeed.
the time, so just to weave in a couple more questions and then
Okay.
want to close on Peter. But Stephanie's put, I'm new to Gene Keys. I've called up my chart and I've got 19.1 in purpose. It says bones in tea. As I have physical problems, could you please explain what that means?
Yes. Okay. Well, that's actually a great question to finish on. If we're not, may have one more. So the line one in the purpose, it says physicality bones. Unfortunately, what this means is that the core wound that you're carrying in the vocation sphere is actually located in your bones. It's the deepest place that the core wound resides. And so this is difficult to get that deep down into it because it's in the bone structure. And again, I tend to do a little session during the session with people to get down into that place. The 19th gene key is the shadow of codependency. So typically in that there's someone hanging onto you. It's a neediness or a clinginess, but it could even be your own neediness and clinginess with yourself because it's in the unconscious, it's in the underworld of you. However, there's a wonderful, wonderful gift. As Richard always says, the deepest shadows have the greatest gifts. And the greatest gift in this gene key is, Richard calls it sensitivity, but it's actually synesthesia. Synesthesia is when your senses cross over each other. And I had a wonderful example the other day where a woman completely opened up into her gene keys and she was listening to the 432 hertz frequency, which is a very significant healing frequency. And she was seeing all the colors associated with that frequency of sound. That's a very classic synesthesia. So it can be tasting color, it can be hearing flowers open, It can be smelling a fragrance that isn't there. It can be all the senses crossing over each other. So this person has that gift deeply buried inside her once you can clear the bone structure of the core wound. And the core wound is the sphere of the vocation, which obviously we would work with at the same time. And that's where you said earlier just now, where you start seeing the interconnectedness of different keys and how that works.
Absolutely. There's lots of people saying, they've listened to the recording last week from a session with Peter that I had back in 2021 and it's helped. This is the beauty of this work because it's the profile of your life. It doesn't matter when you had a session, you can then go back and you'll gain more insight into it. I mean, that's certainly something that I find. It doesn't matter if I watch a film, read a book, look at my natal chart or whatever. You get the perfect level of information that you're ready for in that moment. But then if you go back to it, then you get a whole gamut, it just opens up even more. And that's the beauty of these sessions, because you then have the recording that you can go back to and gain more insight from later on down the line.
And it is an energetic transmission.
Yeah.
So there's energy being pumped into us as we are today in this call. People are getting all these aha moments as this is occurring. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether it's live or replay, it still has the same impact.
Yeah. Somebody's had their hand up for a while, so I'm just going to bring them on and let them ask their question. So Shelley, I'm allowing you to talk, Shelley.
Thank you so much, beautiful Lou, always. And Peter, wonderful Peter. I've had so many sessions with you. My question is, I have 23.5 and 55. And I feel like I've experienced the freedom. I've experienced the simplicity. I've gotten to those areas. It's the quintessence right now. I feel like I've gone through what you said, Richard went through, that bliss. I went through kind of a metamorphosis of a complete blissful state where the freedom came in and the simplicity. And now I'm at a flat line almost, not depression by any means. I feel like I'm being, but I don't feel the quintessence. I'm not feeling, you said, I'm lacking inspiration right now. And I don't know how to get past that feeling. Is that just a natural progression right now?
That's right, Shelley. Yeah, you've explained it very, very well. And this is the dilemma that we face when we have those glimpses. And what we can't do, Shelley, sadly, is try to recover it. It doesn't work because we've got to get out of the mind. So my advice to you is just relax. You've already had the experience. It will come back so long as you don't try to have it. It's just one of those things that we just now, it, you've been in it, you've experienced it. So just rest, recover, rejuvenate, relax, and when it will come back in divine timing. So don't challenge yourself. Don't think you're not good enough. Don't think it was a thing that's never going to happen again. You've already had it. It will come back.
So it's not laziness, not doing anything major right now.
No, just enjoy life. Set yourself free in whatever you're doing in life and enjoy it.
Thank you both. Thanks. Wonderful.
Thanks, Shelley. Okay, so somebody's just asked in the chat. You said about doing a healing for Florida, and I think that would be a really lovely thing to finish on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding us, because we did say that. So let's do that. But it's not for Florida, it's for everything.
Yeah.
If people want to have a specific focus on Florida, they can. That's fine. But we are doing it connecting to this global consciousness grid. Very simple.
Yeah.
We're not going to overcomplicate anything.
Yeah, one thing that I will just say, Caroline, if you've purchased a session, anybody else, if you purchase a session on the website, there should be a PDF attached to the invoice. If you can't find it, if you haven't received the PDF that has the booking link, then just email me and let me know. But what I do is, as a rule of thumb, I contact people who've purchased special offers and just make sure that they've actually received the information on how to book sessions with people. So don't worry, Caroline, if that's what you've done, I will be emailing, contacting you, making sure that you have the information that you need to go forward. So with that then said, I'll hand you back over to Peter for his healing.
Okay, so really important, if you're driving, you must not do this. If you're operating any machinery or anything that's physically difficult, then you mustn't do this, or you can pull over, obviously, to do it. Very short, very simple, very profound. So just gently close your eyes for a moment and just put your two hands over your heart. And just take some nice, long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. We need to get underneath the mind. So bring your conscious awareness down into your heart center, just feeling your chest rise and fall as you breathe in and out. Just pay attention to your mind, that it is letting go, allowing you to drop into the heart. Just relaxing into your heart. And now remaining in your heart, feeling fully grounded to the earth below your feet. Just establishing this inner core stability, connecting down to the center of the earth, along your solar spine. Moving up through your crown chakra and connecting into that global consciousness grid. So we are now connecting heaven and earth together so that the divine intelligence of the global consciousness grid can come into the earth plane and work directly with Mother Earth. And you can just hold this space in your loving heart, in the grid, to bring a peace, calm, harmony to all that is taking place on the planet. And now feeling that peace in your heart. Calming the elements, the earth, the air, the fire, the water, and the ether, which is the 23rd gene key, the quintessence, bringing the quintessence in, but in our hearts. And if you want to have a precise focus, just bring that into your awareness now, whatever it is. It could be any disaster or situation, personal, family, friends, the situation in Florida, the situation in North Carolina, whatever situation that you yourself feel most connected with. If you wish to do this, you don't have to. You can just remain in your heart in peace, harmony, and love. And if you are bringing in a specific situation, you want a very precise focus, a laser-like focus on whatever it is, and the feeling that you're going to have in your heart when it's resolved. Gratitude, love, peace, harmony, calm, open, brightness. And then we let go of the outcome and we allow it to be whatever it is, because we don't know the bigger picture of what this is all about on a higher plane. So we offer ourselves in service for the greater good, in love and compassion, but we have no attachment to the outcome. And remember, this opportunity has only just begun to become about last week on the solar eclipse. So this is a brand new, simple opportunity for us to work with. And not only will it help and support the planet and the Earth itself and humanity, but it will also reflect back into our own life, where we will receive these gifts that we're offering to others in a reciprocal dance. So now we let it all go. We return to our physical being. We become aware of the environment around us. Take a few more gentle breaths. And then when you're ready, just gently open your eyes.
That was beautiful.
And that's all we have to do. And follow those wonderful synchronicities when they show up.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the things that's coming through is linking back to one of the gene keys, and that is that simplicity.
Yeah.
You know, it's that simple.
It is that simple. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So I'm aware of the time. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us again. It's always such a joy. And you always share so much, not just in wisdom and information, but also in the energy and vibration that you bring to the show, which is always beautiful and grounding. And I love that about our conversations.
So do I. So do I. Thank you, Lou.
And thank you everybody to showing up on the live, those who could make it. I do appreciate that, 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time and 1 o'clock Eastern isn't always easy to come and join on the live shows when it's a weekday, but it's very difficult to navigate the world's time zones and meet everybody's needs. So I do appreciate it when people are able to join in on the live calls, and you all bring so much to the live shows, your energy, your own radiance as well, not only your questions and comments. So thank
Well,
you.
there's been a wonderful interactive session today, actually, with all these questions and comments. It's wonderful. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, and I love it, and that's the reason that I love doing the live shows. It's, we could
And
do
me.
pre-record, but it doesn't have the same vibration because your presence adds to the conversation, and that's what brings in a lot of the beauty for me as well. So thank you.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so tomorrow we have a pre-recorded interview, so that will be available at 8 o'clock in the morning UK time. And on Friday, unfortunately, as I said at the beginning, Nora's having to reschedule again. So I will make sure that we get that in the diary for next week, and I will let everybody know and update the upcoming calls page. And then we have a live call with me on Saturday. So
Yay.
I'm looking forward to sharing space with you all again then. And feel free to come with your questions and your comments and your own wisdom sharings as well, because we are connected into the collective consciousness. We are all one. And so I'm in service to you, but as I say, you bring the energy to the show as much as I do. So for now, have a wonderful rest of your day. This has been live streaming, so if you want to quickly catch up and listen to it again, it's going to be available as a live stream replay, and I will edit the video and audio and get them out as soon as possible afterwards, so you'll have it in those two formats as well. So much love to you all, so much love to you, Peter, and I look forward to sharing space with you again at some point. Next season is March, April sometime, and let's see where we are and where the energies are at that time. Who knows? We could be in a completely different space, wouldn't
Well,
that
I think we will be. I think we will be.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So much love to you all, and I shall see you all again soon. Take care.
Blessings, everybody.